I've read church history and I've read about revival or about great moves of God. And every time I've read about a move of God, I've also read about the prayer that took place that was the foundation of the revival. Those prayers preceded the revival. There was something that set the forecast in the atmosphere for a work or a move of God, an outpouring. You look at the Welsh revival. It's recorded in history that there was Evan Roberts, his brother, and I think about a dozen or so young ladies, and they were in a schoolroom praying for days, hungry for God, praying that God would move. And as they began to pray, the Spirit of God fell. And the Word got out, and people started getting touched by the power of the Holy Spirit. People started getting touched, and God started moving powerfully in their midst, and people came from everywhere. Filled the school hall, then it had to move to this big chapel, and it overflowed out into the streets. Birthed by prayer. You hear about the Azusa Street revival, the birthings of Pentecost in America that touched the world. You hear about a man named William Seymour, but it didn't start with William Seymour. It started with some women that gathered to pray in a house. They just came together and they prayed. And as they prayed, the fervency of the prayer caused the manifestations of God's glory to come so strong that other people started coming for the prayer meeting. It went from Bonnie Bray Street to Azusa Street, and they took over an old horse stable or a livery stable, and crowds came, the masses came. It was birthed in prayer. And if you read about Azusa Street, there were some great signs and wonders that took place. And I was looking and just Googling prayer and revival, and I found this prayer, and I really liked it. Matter of fact, I prayed it myself, but I'm going to read it to you. Just a simple prayer. O men and brethren, what would this heart feel if I could but believe that there may be some among you who will go home and pray for a revival? Men whose faith is large enough and their love fiery enough to lead them from this moment to exercise unceasing intercessions, that God would appear among us and do wondrous things here, as in times of former generations. 120 prayed in the upper room, and the Spirit of God descended with fire, and thousands upon thousands were touched. Millions were touched, and the effect of their prayers, the effect of what was done in the upper room touched the entire world, and it's gone on for the last 2,000 years. And I want to find some people that will pray. There's a laboring done in the secret place. There's a laboring done in that private place in God, where the rewards are eternal, where the rewards only come from heaven. It's not seen of men, but it's seen by God. It's seen by the cloud of witnesses, and it's seen by the angels. Are there those here that will make themselves houses of prayer? Are there those here that will stop eating and stop being so busy and fast and pray and seek God like you've never sought God before, so you can encounter God, know Him, be changed by His presence, and become like Jesus Christ Himself, where you can become the chief intercessor? I've spent hours, nights, days with God. That's how I've learned to hear His voice. And He answers my prayers. Many have cried out to the Lord, and He heard their cry. He answered their prayers. He healed them. He delivered them. He provided for them. He helped them. The question is for you, what are you going to pray? Will you cry out for a mighty revival? Will you pray until God descends upon this city?